Today we're going to talk about the 1970s. The 70s. I want to kind of dig into Israel through the decades and the different things they went through throughout the times. You know, so I got Yehuda from Judah up here. What's up, man? You want to say something?
Shalom, shalom, family.
You lived through the 70s.
I lived through it.
You don't have to say your age, you know what I'm saying? But he lived through the 70s. Then you got this guy over here. He lived through the 70s.
I survived the 70s.
You survived this. You had to survive in the 70s.
Had to survive the
that might be
70s.
the name of the class. You know what I'm saying? Israel, surviving the 70s.
Okay.
You had to survive it. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
You know nothing about the 70s, huh?
I have made calls. You know, I called some brothers and sisters that lived through that time and kind of got some insight. And then, you know, I watched some documentaries about the 70s.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I did not live at that time, though, personally. No, I did not. But
Cool.
what?
No. Let's see where we go with this.
Let's see where we go. We going into the 70s. Let us venture down the path of bell bottoms. You know what I'm saying?
And nylon shirts.
Anyway, let's read the scripture where I'm at.
Psalm 78, verse 3.
Yeah.
Which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done.
And so during the 70s, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. Our people survived the 70s. It was some things put in place to kill us and to destroy us as a people in the 70s, but we still here. Go ahead.
For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children.
Yeah.
That the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children.
To their children. You all right, man? You gonna be all right reading today?
Yeah.
You good? You might need the glasses. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't need the glasses. Okay, read that scripture again. We just read it. Read the same one.
Psalm chapter 78 and verse 6.
Okay.
That the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children.
So these things, these issues, these problems that arise, that persisted through the 70s, and we'll look at the 70s. We're gonna look at the 80s, the 90s. You know, I'm gonna try to look at all of them. These issues that persisted through these times, we should share these different things with. You should ask these questions to your parents or to your grandparents if they're available, and just really see how those things affected us biblically, and show how even during those times we went through things. We always use the Bible and go back to 1619. Now, Deuteronomy applies in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. It's through the whole thing. Keep going.
Verse 7. That they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments.
But keep his commandments. That's the key to it, right? We can't forget the works of God because, again, like I said, our people went through some madness during the 70s, and we can't forget that the Lord had us survive the 70s. You know what I'm saying? You got something? Go ahead, Yehuda. Go ahead, Yehuda. You got something? Nah, you good? Okay. So with that, we'll go to where I'm going. I want to go to the first video. Let's look at 2nd Ezra chapter 7, and we'll start at verse 50. And I want this video real quick. So pause it right there.
1971.
So in 1971, thousands of anti-Vietnam War demonstrators came to Washington, D.C. and tried to disrupt and prevent government workers from going to their jobs by slashing tires and blocking traffic. So a lot of this stuff that we see today in reference to this government upheaval and people going in there trying to fight against the government and stuff that we've seen recently, it's a lot of parallels that you'll see. And even during the 70s, I'm sure when we go looking in the 80s, we'll find the same thing. A lot of these parallels, this stuff ain't new. You know what I'm saying? These people have been operating in the same mode of operation, the same time, the same way. Go ahead, play on.
Thousands of anti-Vietnam War demonstrators came to Washington, D.C. and tried to disrupt and prevent government workers from going to their jobs by slashing tires and blocking traffic. police arrested over 7,000.
Pause it.
Detained two.
So they arrested 7,000 people just for slashing tires and what's the thing? Blocking traffic and all that stuff. These people went in there was beating people with all type of stuff, and they done arrested what, like 150 or something at this time? They ain't got close to this number. They arrested 7,000 people for this. Go ahead.
2,000 demonstrators at the RFK practice football field.
Stop. So then they arrested another 2,000. So 9,000 people total was arrested just for blocking traffic and slashing tires. Go ahead.
Had little effect on closing the government, but their presence provided some unusual and entertaining pictures.
So it's called May Day. You good. Listen to the music. They make it sound like it's all cheerful and stuff, man. Why you take it down? Yeah, they make it sound all cheerful and stuff, man. Go ahead. That's Constitution Avenue. There's some of them laying in the street. Scroll forward to like the 2-minute mark. Where we at right now? France, the girls were... Scroll forward to like the 2-minute mark or so. Yeah, go back. Where they was on top of the monuments. Go back a little bit. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, hit that. Pause that. Yep, play. Chop suey. Without a doubt, it's a man. Got the flag upside down and stuff. Now I'm playing this. You can pause it. We can take it down. I'm playing this just to show you that they was protesting and doing all this stuff back here, right? Now, they don't make it seem as radically charged as the one that was going on here. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. Go ahead, Knight.
No, if you look at that, that looks like a peaceful demonstration, right?
Right. But it was 9,000 people arrested.
Exactly. 9,000 people arrested during, I didn't see anything really belligerent that was happening as far as outside of them standing on top of the statue, outside the building.
Right. Now, it said it was 9,000 people arrested, so they must have been doing something.
Okay.
They must have been doing. Why would they arrest 9,000 people for doing nothing?
I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let's go to the scripture.
Is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 50.
Yeah.
And that there is promised us an everlasting hope.
Matter of fact, jump down to start at verse 56. We'll come back. We'll start at 56.
Verse 56. Mm-hmm. For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death.
Go ahead.
Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
So it's always been these battles going on, and the condition of the battle is not. It hasn't changed. These other this nation that we live amongst, right? When we look at Daniel, when they say that iron can't mix with clay, right? This other nation that we live with, they always operated in the same mode of operation. It's always been the same. They fighting and have these political upheavals and the same stuff. This is not new what we seeing in 2021 in reference to this nation of people, be them Democratic or Republican, the so-called white man, them having problems with each other, and this is how they deal with it. This is violence, right? That's the nature of them. All right, let's go to it. Let's go to Genesis. Genesis, what is it, 28? Genesis 28, start at verse 38. Yeah. 27 and 38, I'm sorry. 27.
Is the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword,
and how?
And by thy sword,
through fighting,
shalt thou live.
That's how y'all live. That's how y'all roll. That's the natural MO, the natural mode of operation for this nation. And it didn't change in the 70s. They think it was peace, love, and hair grease. in the 70s. Nah, Anna, did you have hair grease in the 70s?
I wore that. I used Dax.
You used Dax.
Sulfur 8.
Oh man,
You know?
Sulfur 8.
Sulfur 8.
That sound like a chemical.
That's Sulfur 8, man. That's to help get your scalp right.
Oh, does it? All right. You using hair grease back in the 70s, sir?
Yes, sir. I remember that.
You had hair grease? You
Yes,
had
sir.
Sulfur 8 too?
Sulfur 8.
It smelled
man.
terrible. It smelled like sulfur.
It smelled like sulfur. I would think so. Number 8. You know what I'm saying? What you say? Nah, bro, that's the wrong decade. That's why you're not sitting over here.
Stay over there.
Because you in the
Stay
wrong
in the
decade.
90s, sir.
He
Stay
don't
in
even
the
know what he's
90s.
talking about. He bringing up Jerry curls,
Yes.
and we talking about the 70s.
Stay soft fro and
This
Willie
guy,
Morrow's
man.
California curl. No.
You're Sadia, man. Stay over there. When I start talking about the decade of 2021, I'll ask you questions, all right? Until then, just learn. You know what I'm saying? He just came out of left field. Jerry curls.
Got
He
to
knew he
rest.
was right, too. Like,
He thought he was right.
Yep.
He thought he was like, yeah, that's what's going on in the 70s.
no.
Woo, boy. They had what my wife's mom called it was the naturals. They had the naturals.
We
Sprayed
had
down with some
also
apple
Can
sauce.
I look up can you look up the natural? You know what I'm saying? I want to see the natural. What you
with
say?
the blowout kits. With
Yeah.
The blowout kits.
Yeah, that's what the 70s was like. You know what I'm saying? Yasadia, the naturals. Don't say Yasadia, just nod your head. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta say nothing. It's okay. We know you don't know. I don't expect you to know. Oh my gosh, this guy gives us the worst pictures.
That's a natural
Give me
right
some
there.
1970s naturals, man. I want the 70s. This guy, man. Look at that. She got
There you
butterflies
go.
in her. There we go.
Look
Not
at-
her.
Why is she up there?
Yeah, exactly.
Look at Pam Grier.
Yeah.
I know.
No
Exactly.
clue.
And then they go, wait, drop down. They're going to throw Barbara Streisand in
They
there.
got Barbara Streisand in there.
Really?
That's how y'all rolled in the 70s. He said Pam Grier. Give me some
Pam Grier, man.
Let's go back to the scripture. What we reading verse 17.
There you go. That's a
17.
natural.
That's the natural right there. Verse 17. We was in second Ezra.
7 and 17.
Yeah, is that where I'm at? Second Ezra, yeah. I was at 50 something. 50, yes, over there. Where I was at. 50.
57.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 57.
Yeah.
Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
Go ahead.
That if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say.
All right, let's go back. So one of the things that people was going through at that time, we see that the political system was between the Edomite nations, and when I say the Edomite nations, I'm talking about being Democratic or Republican. That's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? And I have spoken to a few different sources that lived through the 70s that said that the political forefront of things wasn't something even that really played enough, that they didn't really see an effect on their life in it. Voting and things like that. It wasn't things that they cared that much about. That's a question I have for y'all. Was that the reality, or were your parents involved in kind of the political thought process of the time? That question. Feel free.
I'm really glad that you said your parents, because
Yeah.
you would really be aging myself.
Yeah,
out
yeah,
right
yeah,
here, right
yeah.
now.
You
But
wasn't
no, they didn't really take part of that.
They didn't take part of that.
No.
But they make it
They
seem
did
like
vote. They did vote.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a big, not like what they're pushing right now.
Right. They make it seem like our parents fought for this thing, like they really was out there. Like you didn't see your parents wasn't.
No, I don't remember seeing any signs or vote for Nixon or
No.
Carter or anything like that
No.
at the time. No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see it push like that, like it is today. It's more push today than back in the 70s. Like the officer said, I didn't see my parents pushing it or wearing a I vote button and all that stuff.
Yeah, that wasn't the
that wasn't
norm
part-
of the
that wasn't
time.
no-
Okay. Let's look at the political system. Can I get I believe it was Lee. The Lee video. There's two of them, but we'll start with Lee. Yeah, give me that one. Click that thing. You might want to turn it down a little bit.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all want to quote me on this. All right, I won't hear it. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger.
Pause it.
By 19...
So he said when they was on a political campaign in the 50s, they would say nigga, nigga, nigga. Right? Go ahead.
68, you can't say nigga, that hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights and all that stuff.
Stop. He said you say things like forced busing, states' rights. Go ahead.
You're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites.
Pause it.
And
so he said back in the 50s and the 60s, they just would say nigga this and nigga that. When they start moving towards the 70s, there was things like forced busing. What was the other thing he said? I forget.
States' rights.
States' rights. They use terms like that. But the effect was still the same. They just didn't have to say the word anymore. You know what I'm saying? The political system was still the same. It was anti-black. The party was still doing the same thing. They just used and changed the verbiage. That was it. Go ahead. Keep play.
subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Dang. So we say regardless of what's said, the goal is still the same. They still have the same goal. They might not say nigga this, nigga that, hang them and stuff like that. They might not say stuff like that. But they'll say, we're going to do busing. We care about states' rights. We care about cutting taxes. The effect is still to destroy the black society, the Hispanic society, to destroy the Israelites, right? Give me that, Psalms 83. A lot of y'all think that because they don't say that stuff anymore, that they don't have the same agenda. The agenda is still the same. Psalms 83.
Verse 1.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
They consulted against the council, the crafty council. It went from just being blatantly racist to going out and saying, we care about states' rights. And our people are still, to this day, they still believe that this political system has anything to do with them. And they'll say things, it's so crazy because our people, they'll say things like, oh, you should care about your local politics. No, it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. The political system was never developed to help you. Go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 7. I'll start at 50 this time.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 50.
Yeah.
And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly, and that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all, and that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it. For we have walked in unpleasant places.
We walk where?
In unpleasant places.
We walk in unpleasant places. Read verse 53 again.
Verse 53. And that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine.
Yes.
Since we shall not enter into it.
So the place where we supposed to be, there's going to be security, medicine. We're going to be healthy. But our people, they think it's this place. And we'll see that they didn't care nothing about us. All right, let's go to Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17, please.
Yeah, that's a very important point you bringing up, Cap, because even today with the election just happened, our people are very excited that Trump is out and Biden in. So now they are happy, thinking the oppression is going to change, things going to get better.
Right.
I had a coworker say it felt like the sun is shining again. So it's crazy.
The sun can now shine. Woo. The Negro, boy, I tell you. That's my term now. That's my term for people now, man. It's sheeple. You know what I'm saying? 50% sheep, 50% people. You know what I'm saying? They half and half. Sheeple. Let's go.
Is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4 and verse 17.
Yeah.
As for us, our eyes as yet failed for vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
That's what we look for. We look for this nation, think that they saving us, talking about things like states' rights and the busing system and all these different things are going to help us. They have not helped us yet. They are destroying us. These different things they put in place. Yeah, people think, our people, blacks, Hispanics, we think that they not thinking ahead on the different systems that they put in place. When they going up there to decide how they're going to move politically, they think ahead. They didn't just come up with it the day before. When they thinking about the busing system, they didn't just come up with it the day before. Now they thought about, okay, how's this going to affect them? What are we trying to, what's the overall outcome we want to create by doing this? And they say, okay, that'll work. That'll destroy them. Let's do that. That's what they thinking. All right, let's go to the next guy. I think he was on there. Give me that guy that was right above Lee Atwater. What's his name? John Eckerman. John Eckerman. All right, so John Eckerman was part of the Nixon administration. He was the, what do they call it? What was he? Scroll down, read it. Counsel and assistant to the president on domestic affairs. So everything that went on domestically, that was his job. All right, let's scroll down. There should be some quotes by him. Keep going. There we go. That's the thing I want right there. Let's read that his 2016 quote.
In 2016, a quote from Ehrlichman that generated much interest and has been widely cited was the lead for an anti-drug war article in Harper's Magazine by journalist Dan Baum.
So during the 70s, they created what's known as the war on drugs that happened during the Nixon administration during the 70s, right? The war on drugs. Now, again, like he said, right? They'll say nigga, nigga, nigga in the 50s and 60s, but in the 70s, we got to switch it up. We're going to say busing. We're going to say war on drugs. But what were they really saying? We'll see. Let's see. Go ahead.
You want to know what this was really all about?
So this is him. This is his quote. This is his direct quote. Go ahead.
He asked with the bluntness of a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, had little left to protect.
So just to clear it up, he was in prison because he was part of what's known as the Watergate He was part of what's known as Watergate. So Watergate was a hotel where the DNC, which are the Democrats, they would have their political events, right? So Nixon, which was a Republican, he sent in these guys, this guy right here and a couple other guys, to go bug Watergate. So they bugged the actual hotel where the DNC or the Democrats were having their conferences. And then these people got arrested for that. So that's what the Watergate scandal was about. They was trying to spy on each other politically. That's what is going on. So that's why he was in jail. Go ahead.
The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people.
And who?
And black people.
So the war on drugs was about fighting against who? Black people. It wasn't against drugs. It wasn't against crack or heroin or any of these different things. The war on drugs was about black people. Let's see. Go ahead.
You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black.
So they knew they couldn't say, we don't like black people. They couldn't come out and say that outrightly. Go ahead.
But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did.
Of course we did. They knew there wasn't no drugs in our community at that time. They knew it wasn't no drugs in our community. And it's so crazy, right? Because again, I spoke to my wife's mom, I spoke to my dad, I spoke to a couple of soldiers and brothers out there. They said, man, it was a problem with heroin back in the 70s. But then when you actually look at it, or you actually ask them, did they see it? Nah, I ain't really seen none of it. But they would politicize it. They would push it through the news, push you to believe that it was a problem with heroin, but it really wasn't. Let's go back to the scripture. Let's go back to it.
Psalms chapter 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Yep.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Yes.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So how did they cut off from being a nation? By coming up with terms like war on drugs, by coming up with things like busing. These are the different things they did to erode and destroy our community. But in your mind, you hear these things and you think this is good. This is good for us. Our school system sucks. We got drugs in the community. This is the things that a lot of the brothers and sisters that grew up in the 70s, that's what they saw. But it wasn't really reality. Behind the veil was a whole different agenda. How to destroy the black and Hispanic community. That's what was behind all of that. Let's go to the next video. You got a statement? You got something? Feel free to jump in, man. You good? Okay. Let's go to the next video. What I got? I think I got the busing. Let's talk about that. So the busing. We'll look at, start with the wiki. All right, so desegregation busing. Race integrated busing. Okay, I'm gonna jump down. While the 1954 Supreme Court landmark decision Brown versus the Board of Education declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional, many American schools continued to remain largely uniracial due to housing inequality. So they said, even though they said y'all can go to school wherever you want, depending on where you live, it still would be all black. You know what I'm saying? All right, where we at? In an effort to address the ongoing facto segregation in schools, in 1971, Supreme Court decision Swan versus Charlotte Macklin Board of Education ruled that the federal courts could use busing as a further integration tool to achieve racial balance. So they wanted to, again, like I said, man, it all sound good on the outside. The point was to achieve racial balance. That's what they said. We'll start with verse 15. Read 15 first.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15.
Yeah.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the curses was on us. In the 70s, the curses was still on us. They didn't come off us in the 70s, even though they thought it was peace and free love and all of that stuff. The curses was still hot on our tails. Let's read verse 32. Watch this.
Verse 32.
Yeah.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
So he said that our sons and our daughters, our children, would be taken from us, and we had no might on where it was that they went. Right? Slavery's over. What is God talking about? How did this affect us in the 70s? Can you go back to that article again? That busing that we was looking at in Wiki. Bring that back up one more time. I want to see that.
So when you think about busing, what do you think will be the reason behind them busing blacks and Hispanics into white neighborhoods to would it be to better our education? Huh? Oh, that was your thing talking. I was like, what the heck? It's not to better our education. It's basically is to gain control of our people.
Right.
We read in Deuteronomy 28
Right.
that they're going to take our children and send them to another people, right?
Right.
Like that's what's going to happen. And that's exactly what happened is so that they can gain control of our neighborhoods. If you think back in the 60s, before the segregation happened,
Yep.
you were black teachers teaching black children
Yep.
black things.
Yep.
Teaching us that we're good people, that our history.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to these other schools, when I went to Helix in 78,
Okay.
they didn't teach nothing about black history.
Teach
The
that.
black history they taught us was just very generic. They didn't
Yeah.
teach us that what we were doing when we was
But
over
the school
there.
before
But the school before
Helix?
before I came here in 72
Yeah.
and I went to elementary school. So in New York, when I was in New York, I left New York when I was 10.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I was just thinking on my way over here. I didn't know what white people were until I came to
I'm
San Diego.
telling you.
I didn't know what
telling you.
white people were until they were on TV or there was the nuns in the church, the Catholic school I went to.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
So it was just a culture shock when I got out here. So obviously, no, they didn't teach us any of that stuff because I went to basically all white schools while I was here.
While you was here.
Think about it, yeah.
But when you was in New York,
Yeah, it was all black and Hispanic.
it was all black and Hispanic.
I thought white people were Puerto Rican. Pretty much.
Oh man, it's funny, man. So I was talking to my dad. He was saying that I didn't know what those other people look like neither. I was confused as a kid because I grew up in Oak Cliff. Like I didn't see nobody over there. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, click that back.
Bonanza and Little House on the Prairie. That's my white experience.
That was it. Click play. My dad said they wouldn't ride the school buses neither because that was for retarded kids. They'd rather ride the public bus. Public transportation.
The issue
City
that
bus,
won't quit. Here is CBS News
This is it.
correspondent
Watch what he
Charles
say.
Collingwood.
Probably no constitutional prescription since Prohibition has been so widely unpopular as busing children to school for racial balance. Hardly anyone seems neutral about busing. 74% of Americans say they're against it, 20% approve it, and 6% profess honest confusion. Those figures mean that busing has won few converts since the legal basis for it was first established, as we will see in this hour. It has indeed gained new critics, as we will also see, including the Ford administration. Although we're now deep in the politics of a presidential election year, the president's decision to intervene in the busing controversy appears to have been long in the making. As long ago as last November, the president had directed Attorney General Levy to look for a test case in which the Justice Department would intervene to explore alternatives to busing. 2 weeks ago, it became known the Attorney General was considering the Boston case. Last week, delegations of interested parties descended on the Attorney General's office. To put the case against tampering with busing came Roy Wilkins of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and its general counsel, Nathaniel Jones. From Boston came anti-busing leader Louise Day Hicks, president of the city council.
We are only hopeful that there were eager ears listening to the plight of Boston, and as we say today, that we're
Scroll
just
forward
hopeful
about,
that he
let me
will
see.
go ahead with.
Take your mouse and roll it over it a little bit. I want to see something a little bit. Right in there. Yeah, you go back a little bit. Right there, yep. So this is what busing looked like. Go ahead, hit that thing, hit play.
Invading army by battalions of embattled citizens ready to fight against what they took to be an incursion upon their sacred rights. There have been many ugly incidents ever since. And today, a supporter of busing like Senator Kennedy would probably get an even rougher reception from people opposed to busing than he did in 1974.
You know what it feels like to have a freedom denied you. We've had the freedom of sending our children to neighborhood schools taken away from us.
Can I speak? Are you going to, isn't part of
the
our
people
speech?
don't care to hear you.
Bust your kids, Teddy!
Many communities are struggling with the complex and highly emotional problem of busing.
In 1971, Charlotte, North Carolina opened the door for busing across the country, forcing the nation to confront a history of old prejudices.
And I asked them if they knew about the niggers going into school the next day, and they said, I'm against it.
Well-honed politics.
I'm against busing. That's forced integration.
And long-held fears of change.
Pause it. That was Richard Nixon. That was that was him. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you, I'm against busing too, but that's besides the point. There's nothing wrong with going to all black school. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk more about it, but go ahead.
Charlotte overcame these hurdles, becoming a national symbol of what was possible.
On the whole, integration has gone more smoothly here and has been more successful than many people imagined.
But more than 4 decades later, the story of Charlotte's integration has taken a decidedly different turn.
Should just be a couple of minutes in. I think they're gonna say it.
In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that schools divided along racial lines were inherently unequal. But over the next decade, only about 1% of blacks in the South ended up attending integrated schools. Arthur Griffin was among the students affected by the slow pace of change.
My elementary schooling was all black. There was a morning session from 8 to 12, and there was an afternoon session from 12 to 4. Because it was overcrowded, we had those 2 shifts. My high school was all black. We had old books, we had old football uniforms, and had old band uniforms. This went on for years.
This inequality in Charlotte led to a federal lawsuit. When the Supreme Court ruling finally came in 1971, the effects rippled across the country.
A unanimous Supreme Court today affirmed the principle of busing school children to desegregate schools. In fact, the court said almost anything was all right if it served this purpose.
The effects of this decision are almost incalculable.
How many are going to keep their children home? Home, not on a bus, nowhere but home.
Charlotte's desegregation program had already been set in motion by a federal judge a year and a half before.
The people of this community will not accept nor comply with these oppressive orders.
What happens if the school board should bring legal action against you for keeping him home?
I guess I'll get free board and meals.
To keep whites in the school district, most of the students who were bused were black. The students sent to West Charlotte High, the pride of the black community, were an exception.
Immediately when...
So it said that the children that was bused was black. They only bust the black kids. They wasn't busting the white kids into black neighborhoods. Now it did happen, and he'll talk about that if you watch the whole documentary. But it did happen. But when they did bring the other nations in to the schools, what they would do, he said, it would look like they got $1 million overnight. They would change everything before they would get there. They paved the school, upgrade the gym, new books. Everything would show up overnight for that school. Let's go to this. Let's go to Psalms chapter 64.
Here's the book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 1.
Go ahead.
Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life for fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words.
Even bitter words. So a lot of times they'll make these specific judgments, right? This judge that made this decision was not a black man. It was a white man that made this decision that caused the ripple effect of this busing in Charlotte. That's what happened, right? It started there in Charlotte, and then they passed it federally. You know what I'm saying? So when he passed that judgment, it had a ripple effect that went further than what he just, had made that decision on. Watch. Go ahead.
That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not.
Yep.
They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them?
Who shall see them? This busing system was a snare in place, and a lot of our people, they didn't even see it as a problem. So now I'm asking y'all, Israel, what would be the problem with busing? What would be the problem? I again, speaking to my father, he specifically was bussed. He said it was a high school and a school directly behind him. He had to go to school like 45 minutes away. Now, it's a school right there. What would be the effect of you going to school 45 minutes away? You got to wake up early, right? You got to go to a whole different neighborhood. Now, when you get to that neighborhood and you got to leave to go back, now it's going to take you longer to get home. That's going to affect how much time you actually have to spend on educating yourself in school. He said it didn't matter what he did, he would get to school late. It didn't matter. He could never make it there before 8:30. He ride the yellow bus, which he hated. He ride the public bus. He do everything he could to try to get there on time. He could not do it. Go back to Deuteronomy 28 again, verse 32.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32.
Yeah.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
And so, like it was saying in this video, the federal judges made the decisions that your children had to be bused to a whole different community. You didn't get to decide, I want my kid to go to this school or that. Nah, the courts did that. That was beyond your control. Like you can say, hey, I want my kid to go to this school or that. You didn't have that choice back in the 70s. Wherever they decided you were going, you had to go. You didn't have a choice. I was like, how did you pick your school or something like that? He was like, nah, I ain't do that. But, what's interesting is that how, it was lines. Because I was speaking to my wife's mom. She said they didn't have that. They didn't have to do busing out here in San Diego. But in Texas, where I grew up and where my dad grew up, they had to do the busing. You know what I'm saying? You said you didn't have to do that because why again? Go ahead.
They had moved a lot of black families into white neighborhoods. So the neighborhoods were starting to be integrated. So I grew up in like a predominant white neighborhood. So I went to a all white school.
All white school.
All white school. We had a few Jakes, but mostly whites.
Mostly whites. All right, cool. Go to that other video. I think it was like 5 minutes. SMU. You got something, Anani? You good? Okay. Click on that thing. 109. So this is Dallas Skyline. This high school I went to. Go ahead.
Well, it might be all right. I think the same thing, too.
You think it's going to be okay?
I don't.
Why not?
I don't. Because the first day that I went out there, we had a scramble,
Pause it.
But it was okay.
He said he called it a scrabble. They was out there scrapping. The other kid's like, yeah, it's good. It's all good. One Negro said, hell no. I was scrambling. Go ahead.
Okay.
You expecting a scramble today?
Well, not so far, but I think I'll make it. A little, I hope.
Does it bother you to be riding a bus?
No.
You think most of the kids are going to go to school today, or are they going to stay home and wait and see what happens?
I think most of them will go today. It'll be all right, just as long as there don't be no trouble.
You're going to Skyline now, right?
Righteous.
What do you think about this busing thing?
Well, I think we'll make it the first few days, but the rest of them will be kind of tough.
Why is that?
Well, some of the students are hanging out to see how things going on, and most of them are troublemakers.
The ones who are hanging out?
Yeah.
So when they start coming to school, you think it's going to get bad?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will.
What do you expect?
There's going to be a lot of fighting.
Are you concerned for your daughter, or is she concerned?
So he said, this guy was like, we're going to be out here fighting, man. Like, right now, it's cool. You know, the court is here. They had the, my mom was telling me, they had the, what they call it, the National Guard, walking them into school and protecting the buses and all that stuff. At some point, that stuff go away. And now you're in a scramble. You know what I'm saying? like the young brother said, in a scramble. Go ahead.
Well, I'm concerned for her, and I think she's concerned for her education.
Laverne just talked to your mother, and she said you're a little concerned, are you?
I'm very much concerned.
Why?
Oh, because I want to be sure and very, very. I want to be very sure about this here, and I want them to really know what they're doing. And I think that it will work out if everybody cooperate together, because, I mean, this is not probably their first time. I mean, you got to be together sometime. And I don't think it's no problem if everybody cooperate.
Well, I haven't understood yet exactly what it is you're concerned about.
Oh, well, I'm concerned about my schoolmates and everything, and I'm concerned about how we'll be treated and everything like that. And very much concerned about the education what we're going to receive. And concerned about your education? Concerned about my education.
All right, we can take it down. So the education that they was going to receive was going to be different now. They was like, things is going to change. That, again, just speaking on what, my father said, he was saying that the time was the biggest problem. There just was not enough time to get to school on time, and it was just not enough time to get home to actually spend some time focusing on your education, on your homework. It just wasn't enough time. It didn't matter what you did. Busing ruined their education. Go ahead.
It's crazy because when you look at this, like what happened prior to this, it was Dr. King, right?
Yep.
Dr. King was shot and killed. He was assassinated, right?
Right.
So people were in an uproar. And it's the same thing that happens here. When somebody gets shot and killed over here in the States, everybody gets in an uproar, and then they'll give us a little something to settle us down.
Right.
So inclusion was what they gave us to settle us down. But what did it do?
Destroyed us.
It destroyed us.
Yep.
Because now you're looking at your teachers, instead of seeing somebody that looks like you, that's educated, that's
cares about you,
that cares about you, you see a different nation up there sitting on a throne, a white person, a Chinese person, or whoever it may be at the time, teaching our children. And it's like, it's not helping us. It's making us look up to them as if there's something special. And it's,
go ahead. No, finish.
And it's diminishing our perception of our own selves.
Yehuda, you had a thing you were saying in reference to No Child Left Behind. That started in the 70's too, and how that affected the school system.
Yeah, it's interesting what the sister said about the education. At that time, I really felt we got a really poor education.
When y'all went to the white schools.
We went to the white school.
Right.
None of the agenda, the things that they taught really applied to us.
Right.
And like Officer said, we got very little history.
Yep.
Or no history about our history, and mainly it was slavery.
Yep.
So it was very
the
poor.
No Child Left Behind. What was the thing you were saying about that?
Okay, yeah. With that, it was like it didn't matter your ability,
your grades, your GPA,
right,
your attendance.
Right. You got passed along.
Yep.
So you going into the 6th grade reading on the 2nd grade level.
Yep.
So it was a very poor
so
education.
they coupled that busing system with the No Child Left Behind system, which pushed you through with minimal information.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Go back to Deuteronomy 28. Where was that? Verse 32?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
Go ahead.
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
There wasn't nothing you can do about it. About the jacked up education system that we went from worse to worse. Again, like you said, some of the schools, they didn't have good books or good thing, but the main thing you got out of there was teachers that cared about what you were learning. Like, they cared. That thing was taken away. Go ahead.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
Yep.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
So go to the next. It was a thing I had sent you. It was a wiki thing at the bottom. Yeah, give me that. So what would happen was, right, when they would bust the Negro into the area, it was this thing called white flight. Let's see what white flight is. White flight is the sudden or gradual large-scale migration of white people from areas becoming more racially
ethnoculturally.
There you go. That word, diverse. Starting in the 50s and 60s, the term became popular in the United States. They referred to the large-scale migration of people of various European ancestors, Caucasians, Edomites, white people, from racially mixed urban regions to more racially homogeneous suburban or exurban regions. Let's go back to the video. The term has more recently been replied. Yeah, with some white people. They ran away. They ran away. The one that was like 10 minutes. Yeah, I think that's it. That should be it. Then go back a little bit. Yeah, right there. All right, cool. Yep. So, again, hold on. So this is the after effects of busing. Now they talking about the after effects of busing. Go ahead.
And we'll see what happens. And it took a year or two or three before West Charlotte actually got to the point that it is today.
In the 1970s, West Charlotte was a national model for school integration. 40% black, 60% white.
Pause it.
Today, it's...
So when they bust them, they got it to 40, 60. They was mixing them all up. Now let's see what happened next. Go ahead.
88% black, 1% white.
Stop. I think you saw. It went back to how it was in the beginning. It went all the way back. Like you said, you didn't see him. Guess what? I went to high school in the late 90s. I didn't see him neither because it went back. Them dudes we was looking at that was going to Skyline and they was mixing and scrambling. That's where I went. I didn't see nobody. I thought it was black people. Until I came into and went to Chicago and did the certain things I did. I didn't know they existed in Dallas. I didn't even know they was there. I didn't know there was no other races in Dallas besides black people. I rarely saw them. I'll say it like that. I rarely saw him. Go back a little bit. Watch that chart again. Watch what he said. That was crazy.
It was a national model for school integration. 40% black, 60% white. Today, it's 88% black, 1% white.
I think you saw some white flight and some bright flight.
I'm sorry, say it again. What kind of flight?
White flight and bright flight where the black middle class folks were leaving too.
It wasn't an instant death, but pause it. You allowed...
Oh, here you go. Nope. There you go. No, keep playing. He said it wasn't instant death. Go ahead.
Great teachers to leave. You allowed great numbers of students with great needs to bubble up to West Charlotte, and the resources were not there to help those kids be successful.
Boom. School districts across. So he said that it wasn't an instant death to our school system, but it was a slow death. The teachers left. The intelligent kids left, and it took all the positive resources in our community, it pulled them out. And then it made their education system worse for them because now they go into school. The bright kids that we had, they go into school systems where they don't even care about them. So they're not going to be nurtured and trained up the way that they could have got if they would have went to all black school. Let's go back to Psalms. Where I was at, 70.
64.
64, yeah, go back to that.
You want verse 1 again?
Nah,
we
verse 5.
4, okay.
Oh, yeah, 4. You was at 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
The book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 4.
Yeah.
That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encouraged themselves in an evil matter. They communed of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them?
That's what they did. They laid a snare privily. They made you think that the war on drugs was good for you. They made you think the busing system was good for you. It was a snare. Go ahead.
They search out iniquities.
What do?
They search out iniquities.
They find a way to destroy you. They gonna search it out. They gonna find a system. They gonna say, how do I put a system in place to make sure these blacks and Hispanics are destroyed? Go ahead.
They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep.
Go ahead.
But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded.
Here it come.
So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away.
The systems that they put in place, it's going to fall on them. It's going to hurt them too. The way they try to infuse drugs into our system, the way they created this busing system, all these different things, it affected and destroyed and eroded their communities as well because they was evil. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm going? Go ahead, Anna. You got something? No? You're killing me. Okay, let's go back to 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse 53.
Here's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 53.
Yeah.
And that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it.
So security and medicine. So some of y'all mamas, daddies, myself included, right? They started during the 70s, they started on a large scale with vaccines. Can you pull up smallpox vaccinations? You pull that up. Now again, vaccines was created before the 70s, but it was a certain way they did these things back here. Okay, click on images. Watch this. Scroll down a little bit. There you go, right there. See that thing on the left? That's the one right there. Click on that. See, some of y'all mamas and daddies got this thing on their arm. Some of y'all might have it. See? Yeah, because you old. You know what I'm saying? He hit his head up. Yeah, see, I got one. Yeah, you go. See? So let's go back now. Put in smallpox vaccinations, gun or needle or whatever it was called. Nah, it wasn't syringe. It was like a gun. Yeah. There you go. That's it. Click that thing. That's how they was getting it. That's how you got your vaccinations, bro. The one right in the middle. Yeah, click that one. Yeah, bring it up. Let them see that thing. Yeah, that's how they was vaccinating you. That's what was happening. Go ahead, Anna.
Now, when you look at that, I'm just now catching on to this. What is sanitary about that? They're going to stick that in your arm. The next person's going to come along with another injection. They're going to put the same thing on it. The same needle is going to go into you. They don't change the needles out every time. So I wonder how many people got that twitch.
Yeah.
We're seeing with this recent vaccine.
It's crazy, bro. But see, that again, I don't want the reason why I'm bringing this up because again, the vaccinations that we seeing today and something like that, it's not new. Like none of this stuff is new. They was doing this stuff back in the 70s. Look at it. Cornelius pulled his arm out looking at it. I got one too, bro. I got one too. It was another one. Type in GCB or tuberculosis vaccine or something like that. Let me see the gun. It said like gun or something like that. Let me see what it looked like. Nope, go back up. Nope, go back up. Where you was typing it in. Yeah. There you go. So so the smallpox and the tuberculosis, they was both in that gun. Go out though, just type in shot or something like that, or because it looked a little different. Yeah, it looked like a big old thick needle, man. Ah, man. Yeah, maybe type in needle. Yeah, it was super thick. Nah, they not showing it, bro. I had found it the other day too. I should have sent it to you. Yeah, type in 70's needle, yeah. And keep bringing up that one. But it was another one, it was a thicker needle. I had to find it. But anyway, so that when you would get the TB, right? So stop right there. See how they got the arm? Go back up a little bit. Yeah, click that one. So what you would get is that thing would be on your arm for the rest of your life. And so depending on where you lived, you would get the smallpox vaccinations or you would get the tuberculosis vaccination. Or you might get both, right? Some people had both, right? I think I was talking to Soldier Unc. He was saying that he got both, right? I only got one. I think you only got the one with the circle. But sometimes you end up with both of them depending on where you live. Yeah, it was only in certain demographics where they would give you both. Certain demographics you would get one or the other. So I only got this one, and then he got the smallpox one. Did you get one? You remember?
Yes, sir. I remember that. Yeah.
What it looked like when they gave it to you?
Well, that gun.
That gun?
That gun. Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
Was you traumatized when you seen that gun?
Nah.
You still remember it?
I remember it, though.
You still remember it?
But I think I know what you're talking about, the needle.
Yeah, it was a thicker needle.
Yes, sir.
It was a real thick needle that you got when you got the TB one. I can't find it. All right, let's go to this. Give me the guy. I think his name was Mitchley or something like that. Thomas Mitchley, what did it say? Was American mechanical and chemical engineer. He played a major role in developing lead, gasoline, chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, better known by its brand name Freon. Both products were later banned due to concerns about impact on human health and the environment. So this dude right here, man, y'all might not remember this, but they used to have this thing called the ozone layer. See, look at it. Look how they looking at me. Yeah, when do they talk about the ozone layer? They still talk about the ozone layer? When the last time you heard somebody come on the news and say, we must protect the ozone layer?
Last I heard, they say it's depleting. It's going away, but I don't know if it's gone.
I'm saying, when was the last time they talked about it?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, right?
It's been a while.
That was something they pushed in the 70s. But this man right here, the products that he created, scroll down. The products that he created was to destroy, or they destroyed the ozone layer. Scroll down. Okay, look at that. William H.C. Medical, Longsford Medal, Perkins Medal, Priestley Medal, the Willard Gibbs Award. These are all awards this man won for the science that he was doing. There you go. There you go. So Midgley died three decades before the ozone depleting greenhouse gas effect of CFCs in the atmosphere became widely known. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol phased out the use of CFCs like Freon. So they used to put this stuff in your cars, in your house, in your refrigerant, all of this stuff. This was like in the 70s and stuff was everywhere. And it was like killing us. You know what I'm saying? Scroll down a little bit, go back up. No, go back up where it say, later, life and death. I thought this was interesting. Read that, Hez.
In 1941, the American Chemical Society gave Midgley its highest award, the Priestley Medal. This was followed by the Willard Gibbs Award in 1942. He also held 2 honorary degrees and was elected to the United States National Academy of Sciences. In 1944, he was elected president and chairman of the American Chemical Society.
Watch this.
In 1940, at the age of 51, Midgley contracted poliomyelitis.
Because he was sitting up dealing with CFCs and lead gasoline his whole life. Go ahead.
Which left him severely disabled. He devised an elaborate system of ropes and pulleys to lift himself out of bed.
Here it comes.
In 1944, he became entangled in the device and died of strangulation.
This guy, he created all the systems this dude created, killed him. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you read the songs where it say they tongue gonna fall on them, the stuff that they creating, it is gonna destroy them. You know what I'm saying? This dude that put all this stuff up there, I was watching. What was I watching? I don't know. But they were saying that all them fires that's in Australia is because of this dude, pretty much. That's like the fires that's over there today and the way that the fires are going because of this one man, this one Edomite. He did all this damage by himself. Crazy. He invented all this stuff. All right. Let's go back now. Go back to 2nd Ezra.
Verse 53 again?
Yeah. Start at 53. Yeah, well, start at 50.
2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 50.
Yeah.
And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves being most wicked are made vain.
Yeah.
And that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly.
So even though we lived wickedly in the 70s, they was doing free love and all of this stuff, man, we got caught up in the busing and the medicine of those days. We was entangled in this system. Go ahead.
And that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all.
Even though we walked in the most wicked ways of all, the Lord is going to defend us. All this stuff, man, the Lord's going to defend us. Go ahead.
And that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it. For we have walked in unpleasant places.
So like I said, we had to survive the 70s. We walked in an unpleasant place during the 70s. We had to survive the 70s. Go ahead.
And that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness.
Go ahead.
For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
So this is the condition, man. Surviving the 70s is part of the condition of the battle, man. The war on drugs, the busing system, all these different things, man. That's part of the condition of the battle, man. So Lord's will, y'all be able to learn from, what our parents, what our forefathers went through, and we can, see the other side of this thing. Know that paradise and making it to the kingdom is on the other side of this thing.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.